What's good, YouTube, man? We back with another reaction video, man. Today we got drill rappers who drilled on camera. You feel me? Why the fuck you drilling on camera for? Hey, there's cameras everywhere in the world, so if you're going on drills, you're going to get caught. I promise you, you're going to get caught. But it's Chris here, man. Let's jump straight to it, man. Let's get straight to the business.
First talk about drills. Others get caught doing them on camera. In this video, we're looking at drill rappers who didn't just rap about sliding. They got seen doing it. Real shootings, real footage, real consequences. These aren't just lyrics or rumors. These are documented moments where the streets met the lens. From wild shootouts to broad day retaliation, each of these rappers ended up caught on surveillance, IG Live, or cell phone footage doing exactly what they rapped about. This ain't speculation. This is drill rappers who done drills on camera. Lil Jeff's last day alive played out like a war clip. On June 8th, 2024, he wasn't on music business. He wasn't in a club. He was sliding in enemy territory with full intent. Trap City blocks, broad daylight, riding in a striker, and it was all caught on camera. One Trap City member reportedly spotted him first and darted into a house. Jeff jumped out the striker and ran straight toward the house. No hesitation, no hesitation. What he had in his hands appeared to be a pistol, not his usual Draco. That part would become a big conversation later, because the way he moved suggested he was ready for war. But the tool he had wasn't what he was known for. Cameras nearby captured the next few seconds in full. Jeff raised the pistol and started dumping rounds directly into the house. Not a warning, not a tap shot. He let the clip go, fast and loud. Multiple shots flying in broad daylight. No cover, no backup, just him and the block. This wasn't a drive-by. This was a full-blown on-foot drill with no escape plan. Neighbors in the area ducked for cover. Some reportedly called 911 before the final shot even rang out. But the real twist came seconds later. As Jeff turned and began backing up, possibly reloading or looking to move off the scene, return fire came from inside or behind the house. The same Trap City member he was chasing, identified by street sources as Trap City Rob, had circled back and started shooting. Jeff was hit. He dropped to the pavement. Footage shows him stumble, then collapse fully. It happened fast. When the video surfaced in certain circles, the reaction was instant. People didn't know what to say. Some thought it was fake. Some thought it was a setup. But those close to the situation confirmed it. The footage was real, and it showed Lil Jeff's final drill. It wasn't an ambush. He wasn't caught lacking. He went there to press something and got met with real smoke. What made this moment stand out wasn't just that it was violent.
Man,
Drill
find
culture
something
has
better to
seen
do with
violent
your life,
moments.
man. These kind of stories end in three ways. No, two ways, for real. Two ways. If I'm being honest, it ends in two ways. You dead, you in jail. That's it. You dead or you in jail. Why ain't nothing going just find something.
But rarely do
to
you
life,
see the
man.
entire timeline unfold in such a raw, unedited way. Jeff pulling up, Jeff hopping out, Jeff firing, Jeff getting hit, Jeff dying, all of it captured in one continuous sequence. There was no mystery about who did it. There was no waiting on autopsy reports or speculation on social media. It was all there. Street sources pointed the finger at Trap City Rob almost immediately. He was the target Jeff had chased. He was the one who ran into the house. He was the one who reportedly circled behind and clapped back. And while Jeff had slid on plenty before, this time, the city watched it happen, frame by frame. After the footage hit social media in fragments, Q50 posted an emotional tribute message to Lil Jeff saying, "Damn folks, my big brother, my twin, my other half, just like you said though, this wasn't gonna do none but make me worse. I'm done crying though, I'm just finna do what he told me to." His father, Jeffrey Harris, would post the day after, a message that sparked backlash but also showed how personal the death really was, when he said, "DAM, folks, my big brother, my twin, my other half. Just like you said that this wasn't gonna do none but make me worse. I'm done crying though, I'm just finna do what you told me to." Some blamed Harris for encouraging the same street behavior that got his son killed. Others said he was just grieving. Either way, it added fuel to a fire that was already blazing. Some argued he was moving without a plan. Others said that's just how the real ones move. What can't be debated is that Jeff died doing what he always rapped about, catching ops, bouncing out, and letting the clip off. The only difference this time was the ending, and the camera made sure nobody could rewrite it. In a culture where rappers fake drills for content or flash prop guns for image, Jeff's death was a rare moment of brutal truth. It showed what happens when the music lines up exactly with the street reality. No filter, no label interference, just action, consequence, and loss, all in real time. Lil Durk's drill on camera. Lil Durk's name always carried weight in the drill scene, but what happened on February 5th, 2019, pushed him into a whole different category. That morning, just before sunrise, an incident went down in the parking lot of the Varsity, a popular late-night food spot in Atlanta. Surveillance footage would later capture what appeared to be a heated argument turning deadly, with multiple people involved, including Durk, King Von, and another affiliate named Bezu. The target? A man named Alexander Weatherspoon. He wasn't just some bystander. He had a reputation back in Chicago for credit fraud and being affiliated with the Vice Lords. Whatever was said during that confrontation didn't stay verbal for long. Within seconds, the silence of the early morning was broken by a burst of gunfire. 13 shots were let off. Weatherspoon was hit in the leg, specifically the femoral artery, a wound that left him bleeding out as he tried to escape. He made it across the street before collapsing in front of a cigar lounge, surrounded by panicked witnesses.
They did, Sean, they were flying. Police found several shell casings in this parking lot. The Varsity was closed at the time this happened, around 5:45 this morning, but this club across Spring Street was open, and one patron who was parked in the Varsity lot to go to that club told me what he...
Police arrived quickly, finding shell casings from two different firearms, one being a pistol, the other a rifle. A 9mm handgun was also recovered at the scene. But the shooters had already fled in a black SUV, customized with the number 300 on its side, a detail that would later come back to haunt Durk and his team. For months, the case went quiet. But that silence broke in May. First, King Von was picked up in Chicago. 9 days later, Bezu was arrested. Then, on May 29th, the Atlanta police issued a warrant for Lil Durk's arrest. The charges were heavy: attempted criminal intent, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. For a drill rapper who'd already fought his way through the system, this was the biggest threat to his freedom yet. What stood out to fans and authorities wasn't just the list of charges. It was the fact that everything seemed to point to Durk being directly involved. According to court testimony from detectives, witnesses identified someone believed to be Durk holding a firearm during the shooting. One of the key pieces of evidence was a woman who said she saw Durk standing outside during the incident and that he was armed. But it didn't stop there. Law enforcement presented footage that they claimed showed someone reaching out the window of the SUV, the same one with 300 printed on the side, and firing. Detectives believed that arm belonged to Lil Durk. Whether or not it was him, the video was enough to get prosecutors to call the shooting gang-related, with connections back to the Black Disciples in Chicago. The bond hearing was intense. Prosecutors pushed to keep Durk in jail, but the judge ended up granting a $250,000 bond under strict conditions: ankle monitor, curfew, and absolutely no firearms. He walked out of jail that night and went live on Instagram almost immediately. King Von would follow the next day on a $300,000 bond. Out on bond, Durk's moves changed. He kept his distance from Von and started focusing on music, dropping tracks and trying to rebrand himself as more of a businessman than a shooter. But the energy surrounding the case never faded, especially since prosecutors had built it on both physical evidence and surveillance, the kind that shows actions, not just rumors. That's what made this situation so significant. Lil Durk, one of the biggest names in drill, was being accused of drilling in front of cameras. In the end, Durk beat the Varsity case, but it never really left him. He went from potentially facing 20 years to walking free, but the memory of that surveillance footage, of those 13 shots caught on tape, still lingers. The footage was never released to the public, but what prosecutors saw in that video was enough to try to put one of rap's biggest stars in prison. That's why Lil Durk is one of the most controversial examples of a drill rapper who allegedly drilled on camera. His case never reached trial. There was no verdict, but everything about that morning at the Varsity, Sugar Hill Keem's drill on camera, Sugar Hill Keem was already making noise in Harlem, but the day he let off shots in broad daylight, caught on camera, was the moment the internet really put a face to the name. It wasn't a music video. It wasn't a reenactment. This was real street action with real consequences, and Keem right in the middle of it. The footage shows him walking through the city with Blockwork, who at the time was still his close friend. They're moving regular, just two rappers outside, broad daylight. Then a whip pulls up slow, too slow for it to be normal. Keem clocked it immediately. In seconds, he's upping what looked like a Glock pistol and firing. No cover, no ducking, no hesitation. He let off multiple rounds while standing in the open, returning fire like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. The ops in the car drove off. Keem, he stayed posted, not even breaking his stance, like nothing had just happened. That right there stamped him in New York drill. It was one thing to talk about sliding, but to do it in public, on video, with witnesses, no mask, no fear, that was a different level. And the weapon? The Glock, his favorite, his go-to in the streets and in the booth. The real twist came in May 2022. Keem was already on parole when he went live on Instagram, flashing what appeared to be the same Glock he let off during that street altercation. NYPD had been watching him, they were just waiting for him to slip. That live stream, that was all they needed. Keem was arrested the same day and later hit with a 5-year sentence. The weapon that made him feared in Harlem was the same one that got him sent upstate. But his bond with the Glock went even deeper than music or lives. Years earlier, Keem and Blockwork had already been through a similar situation. They got pulled over in an Uber, riding dirty. Police found a gun in the vehicle. Nobody snitched officially, but after they got out, Keem went public calling Blockwork a rat. That fallout led to one of Harlem Drill's loudest splits, with Keem and Shaw E.K. dissing Blockwork on record. But the root of it all, that Glock in the car. Right now, Keem is serving his sentence. His next parole opportunity isn't until 2027. By the time he gets out, the landscape of New York drill might be completely different. But no matter how things change, that footage of him up in the Glock in public will always be a part of his legacy. Sugar Hill Keem ain't just known for rapping about drills. He's one of the few who actually got caught doing one, on camera, with the same weapon he always talked about. That's why when people talk about rappers who really let it off in real life, Keem's name always comes up. No mask, no disguise, just a Glock in his hand and a point to prove. Lil Tim's drill on camera. By 2020, Lil Tim's name was nowhere near rap circles yet. But that would all change on November 6, 2020, the night King Von was killed outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta. That night, Quando Rondo and his crew were posted outside the club when King Von and his team pulled up. Surveillance footage showed it all. Von stepped straight up to Quando and started swinging. No talking, no warnings, just fists flying. It set off chaos instantly. Both crews started brawling right there in the street, people swinging, scrambling, reaching. And that's when Lil Tim pulled out his piece. In the middle of the fight, Tim upped a gun, reportedly a Glock, and fired at Von at close range. Von was hit and went down immediately. Tim didn't run, didn't freeze. He kept moving, and according to reports, Tim himself got hit by return fire. Still, he managed to get to Quando's car, and Quando was recorded desperately trying to keep him conscious on the way to the hospital.
Come on, Bit, bro, you got this shit, dog. Come on, cuz, just keep breathing, Bit, bro.
Come on.
Just keep breathing, cuz.
Hold on, you can't move on that
You
fast,
got it,
bro.
my fault.
Yeah.
Man, what you mean wrong side? Come on, come on, man, please, come on, all right.
Okay.
Get him a wheelchair. Man, what you mean I gotta stay right here? Man, we need to get him. Man, we need to get him back there ASAP.
I'm calling.
I pop man.
In front of the entrance. Let him sit down so he won't fall out, okay?
Ma'am, how? He done been shot before.
Okay, sir.
The footage showed it all. Von swinging, the chaos and the shots that dropped him. For drill fans, it wasn't a diss song, a rumor, or some social media back and forth. It was real street beef exploding on camera. Tim survived his injuries, but right after his surgery, he was arrested and charged with the murder of King Von. At that time, Von was at the peak of his rap career, one of the hottest names in the industry, seen as the next big thing out of Chicago's O Block. Killing someone that high profile brought a storm of attention down on Tim and Quando Rondo. Overnight, Lil Tim became a hated figure for thousands of Von fans and a marked man in the streets. Quando Rondo defended Tim immediately. On the track, End of Story, Quando made it clear, if the situation was reversed, nobody would have hesitated to do the same. If the shoe was on the other foot, they wouldn't have said he wrong. In his mind, they didn't start the beef that night. They just finished it. At the same time, people started digging deeper into what really happened that night. Some speculated that Quando's crew may have instigated the confrontation, possibly even leaking their location to lure Von into a setup. There were no official charges about that, but it added fuel to the fire, making the situation even more volatile. Back on the ground, Tim's legal situation was messy. He was already out on bond from previous charges connected to a Savannah trap house bust, where cops seized guns, drugs, and cash. That made the murder charge even more serious, putting him at risk of decades behind bars. Still, the case against Tim slowly unraveled. As months passed, more evidence came out suggesting that Von had thrown the first punches, and Tim's defense team built a case around self-defense. Georgia law gave them an opening. If Tim reasonably feared for his life, he had the right to shoot. By 2022, it was clear that the murder charge wasn't going to stick the way prosecutors hoped. Finally, in August 2022, Lil Tim's murder charge for killing King Von was officially dropped. Just like that, he walked away from the case that could have buried him for life. But by then, the damage was already done. Tim might have beaten the case, but he couldn't beat the hate. His face was known worldwide. His ops weren't just local anymore. They were everywhere. If you like this video, click on a video on either side to watch a video similar to this one.
That was crazy right there. Hey man, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for me. And let's get bloody, let's get nutty. Yeah! See ya next one.